All right, folks, we're back. Thanks for watching that commercial break. We're going to be getting into Billowy versus aLive next. As stated, like a lot of the other matches, we're already playing Bunny, Innovation, etc. So we're grabbing Billowy versus aLive because the winner of this will go on to fight Bill in the semifinals anyways. I believe, I haven't actually confirmed this, but I think we're doing both semifinals as what we used to do for this. But as we do have the lobby up, we don't know where Billowy is, so maybe I'm waiting here for a moment or two.
Yeah, this should be a pretty good match. About time we saw another Protossian in this bracket. Billowy's actually been doing pretty decently in his PVTs lately as well. I think last time him and aLive played, he actually won too. So hopefully it's a good match out of these guys.
Yeah, it's a matter of trying to find Billowy. We'll give him a few minutes. Obviously, he's made it this far. I don't think he's exactly going to go MIA, but he might be taking a break because it was taking some time to get going and all that good stuff. I'm not sure which series Crank is covering. Crank might be doing the Inno one. All right, Olimoleague just confirmed, by the way, we will be doing both semifinals either way. So
Sweet.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Alrighty. Yeah, we got Lenok and Super still playing as well on the other side of the bracket. So winner of that goes up against the winner of Innovation versus Bunny. And then the winner of this match, Billowy and aLive, goes up against Bjol, and those are our two semis. So we're actually already in the quarterfinals here. This will be the last quarterfinals match casted before we head into the semis. So we're on the home stretch. Games only get better from here on out.
Okay, I think this is Billowy. We're just going to confirm before we get this going. Billowy? Question mark? If you guys have been watching our non-Korean stuff, actually, Billowy's been playing a lot in the Corsair Cups and European tournaments. By the way, holy fuck, what were those bets? That payout? What? Oh my god, I didn't even realize. So the bets for Bjol versus Bjorn were 1,400 on Bjol. 15,600 on Bjorn. So,
oh my god.
For example, EU Vafridner, he bet 100 Partoufs and got 1,203 back.
That return, not too bad at all.
No, not too bad. Some of the bigger payouts though, like Johnny Crow, he got 12,000 Partoufs back for his 1,000 Partouf bet. That's crazy.
Got to have faith, man.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to bet on the underdog. Eventually, it's going to pay off. Like this, apparently.
You'd hope so, at least.
Yeah. Anyways, Billowy versus aLive getting underway. It's starting right now. It is a brand new best of 3. And we are, of course, still in the round of 8, awkwardly enough. That other series was just a little bit further ahead than the rest. So, I think Crank's doing Innovation versus Bunny. I can't confirm that right now. We're doing Billowy versus aLive. And then both semifinals will be cast. So we have this best of 3, 2 more best of 3s, and a best of 5 finals still ahead of us. That being said, Billowy's name is a barcode, so I'll get something on the overlay in a moment for it. But spawning in the top right to kick off this brand new set, it's the blue Terran aLive.
And in the bottom left, he's the red Protoss, Billowy.
So while I do this, do you know about the title T emote, Zeph?
The what? What?
The title T emote.
No. What?
So
what is that?
It's a sub emote that for, I'd say, the first 2 months of us having it, nobody understood what it was. But then people clued in that as I kept messing up with the overlay, that's exactly what it was for. And we were in Korea getting our dinner with Artosis and Tasteless, and Artosis told me it was like one of his favorite emotes. And I was like, damn it, that means you watched the stream enough to watch me mess up, basically. Anyways, wow. Get your title T's out of the way. We got it on the overlay now, so it says Billowy over there, so we can keep track of who the barcode is. Now, you mentioned that you thought he was looking pretty good in TvPs lately. Here's my problem with Billowy. I think Billowy is actually a player who, on his best day, can take on any player of any caliber. But his consistency has been really lacking, and that's shown not just between the Korean Cups that we've seen him in, the Korean qualifiers, but through the foreign stuff too. This is a guy who beats players and has been literally on almost every single Kespa team at some point as a B team or as a practice partner, as just a player but he's never really been an A-lister, and it's becoming more evident the more we cast him why. It's because he's got so much like raw potential, but for some reason it's very inconsistent with it.
Yeah, he's one of those players where I know his name. I'm pretty sure everyone knows his name by now, but he's yet to get like any sort of big result to speak of. He's always around. He always gets fairly deep in the tournament bracket, but it's not quite there yet. So I don't know. Maybe 2017 will be a little better for him in that regard.
Yeah. By the way, I didn't realize we got a donation while we were on break, so I'm just gonna replay that really quick on stream. Marcos4912 donated $11.11 to say, I'm Olimoleague. I've hacked every PayPal account. To prove this, I'll post this message from other accounts. Kappa. Ah, you messed it up, because the first one said from other PayPal accounts. Nice try, Marcos. We know that's not really Olimoleague. Olimoleague would never make such a rookie mistake like that.
Oh my goodness.
Also, on that same note of things, Linus42 threw in $10 to the fundraiser with a heart BaseTradeTV. Thank you so much for that, sir. Anyways, aLive, I think, is kind of adapting what is we're going to call it the overgrowth build. He's going for that tech lab on the factory, getting that tank out. And I guess whether it's against Protoss or Zerg, just trying to take advantage of this ledge is just a little too valuable for Terrans to pass up on.
It is a very juicy and eligible ledge for a single siege tank to go and have some fun with, so I can't really blame him in that regard.
When you say eligible ledge, the only I can think of is like, eligible ledge number 1. If you were a weakness of my base, what would it be? You know, like...
Oh my goodness.
Well, regardless of that, tanks are just really freaking good now against most things Protoss have. But the reason I think it's a bit strange to see a tank, unless you were planning to use the ledge, is just Cyclones are scrapping out so much better right now. Whether you're going for the weird all-ins, whether you're playing mech, 1 or 2 Cyclones goes so far against early game Protoss. The damage they bring is just seriously uncontested. Yeah. But the fact that Billowy has gone straight to Stalkers, Blink's not going to be done for a while, and this tank is going to be doing mega damage. It's 70 a shot on top of those Stalkers.
Ouch. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tricky to deal with this. Yeah, he already has a hunch now that he's seen the few units come out there. He probably knows what's coming. Blink has been started, but like you said, it's a ways off yet. And he's just got to get those extra couple of gateways up, get as many units as he can, and just play it patiently, because it's going to be really difficult to get in there and snipe anything. The observer going to give him a bit more of a peek of what's going on here so he can position himself nicely. But
well, he picks off one of the observers, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Of course, no overcharge is a little bit harrowing to see. You're kind of like, wait, why is there overcharge? There's gas going elsewhere, but just a little bit late to the party. Nice pick up on that Marine 2 aLive, doing fantastic with his frontline attack. Bunker actually finishes up, so now if the Stalkers blink in, they're not going to have a fun time. Second tank comes on the front line. Looks like he wants to leapfrog another bunker down. aLive, you're a madman.
Oh yeah, nice micro from Billowy, pulling back the Wounded Stalkers.
Oh
but
no.
Even so, like, I'm actually not sure how he's ever going to break this. He's got an Immortal on the way, but he's going to lose so much before that even comes out. And then, still, he's going to have 2 bunkers to deal with. On top of the 2 tanks, he's got a Medivac, so there's more micro potential there for aLive. aLive is just doing such a great job with this push. And he knows it's difficult to hold, and he's just making it as bad as he can for Billowy to handle right now. I think this Nexus is going to go down.
Just getting chunked. The bunker's in range of it now, too. The Stalkers come in. Blink's still not finished. The Immortal tries to bust this front line, but the Immortal itself is not going to do that much. Not when you have this many Marines still going strong. The tanks don't even both die. That's it. That's got to be game. Well, hold the phone. New Immortal comes on the front line, but it still might not be enough. GG's get called. And aLive going to dominate game number 1.
Ouch, that was painful to watch. My goodness, aLive. So brutal. Poor Billowy, man.
I mean, poor Billowy's one part of it, but the other part of it is it's good to see aLive doing really well. He has been one of my favorite Koreans, and not because of skill necessarily, which he certainly has, but because he's also one of the only guys who will host the lobbies with the WCS Gameheart mod for us. So I got a little bit of extra love for aLive, I'm not gonna lie.
There's the little things that count.
Alright, let me get these guys here into the lobby.
Alright, so Echo is going to be our second map. You could, I wouldn't even be surprised if aLive tried another like really quick mechish opener. Like, he's done the siege tanks, maybe now he does the cyclones and makes it a really quick 2-0. I don't know. I just feel bad for Protoss in PvT at the moment. I think it's quite tough.
It's definitely something that needs tweaking. And I'm hoping that with all the games that have been played out over the holiday seasons, Blizzard's maybe taking a look at that. But a lot of the changes that they've been making to the game, I don't feel necessarily make a lot of sense in terms of like it's almost too complicated to balance at this point. Like, before it was great, and now it's just like a little bit too tough. So I don't blame them like at all. But yeah, mech's looking pretty good when abused correctly. GG, go. There we go. Also, I guess the other part of this too is it's hard because right now you see players like Beyond, maybe aLive in this particular matchup. Like, there are just some guys who excel above and beyond the rest of them. So it's kind of like, is it fair to balance the game around one person?
Sure. Yeah, in that sense though, I do like that they do those like random changes, like Banelings now have +10 health and all this. Just like they just do things and see how it affects the game, and I think it keeps it interesting. And it's a ballsy move too. Some of these changes, just see what happens, see how it turns out, see how people deal with it, and they may end up with some really good changes out of it too. But you know, this is always going to happen. One matchup is always going to be tricky in one stage, and another matchup might be tricky in another stage of the game. But anyway, we are in game number 2 between these two gentlemen. In the top left, we have the red Terran. His name is aLive.
And of course, he's up 1-0 currently. In the bottom right, his opponent, the Barcode, the blue Protoss, Billowy. And I do want to point out, by the way, how close timing was on that, where that looked really strong and almost unbreakable. Like how does Protoss even deal with it, right? Like, can we get a nerf for Terran, please? But it was also like, had the Immortal been out a little bit sooner, had Blink finished like 10 seconds fast, there's like a lot of what-if variables to that, where if aLive was a little bit slower with a draw, that may have actually been a lot easier for Billowy to hold off. It's hardly the game I would bring up in terms of like, let's balance the matchup, but it was something that got so out of hand so very quickly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're supposed to do in that situation. It's just a little ridiculous, but let's see what build is chosen here from aLive. I'm actually really keen to see if he goes for a longer game, or if he tries to kind of knock Billowy out of it really early again.
I mean, I think for what we guess with Overgrowth, you've got the option of that extra little ledge to be annoying. Echo doesn't really present that same opportunity, so I don't know that we'll see anything quite like what we saw before. But as you mentioned, like, he may actually still just go mech. He might just do a Cyclone. It's not at all to say he's limited in his options. Terran's got quite a few openers they can pull out versus Protoss right now.
I don't know. I mean, let's not forget, he didn't even use the ledge last game. He was just like, nah, straight to the front door. Who needs the ledge? And
well,
fair enough too. It's a strong enough build that you don't really need to position too much like that.
I guess he didn't pick eligible ledge number 1.
I guess not.
By the way, a lot of people still asking who's casting with me today. I know that she's not been here super frequently, but it is Zeph for those looking to find out more. She's going to be casting some OSC stuff, not at all with BaseTradeTV, but with, I think, I'm going to assume with Maynard.
Maynard and Death and perhaps others. I'm not sure. There's a lot of casters involved throughout the week.
Actually, I have a fun story I'm going to embarrass Zeph with real quick, guys. So Zeph, for those who, like, we've been over this enough. Zeph started, like, when we started BaseTradeTV, Zeph was casting with us back in the day and all this. What you might not know is, like, taking time back even like a little bit weirder in that same era, we all entered this So You Think You Can Cast competition hosted by, like, Day 9's, like, After Hours Gaming League forever ago.
Yeah.
This was like before I had a real mic. This one I was still using a headset mic. This is like 4 years ago or something. But Zeph and Maynard won that, actually. I still want to just say, I'm just going to say, I think the accents did it. I don't believe you had any particularly amazing skill. Okay, I'm just going to say it was the accent. No,
it probably was. It's okay to be jealous. Like, some of us are just blessed. You know?
Wow! I'm not gonna lie, that Aussie accent is pretty blessed. I'm not gonna, but anyways, Zeph's been around for a while, guys. She just normally does oceanic stuff, so at terrible hours for the rest of the world, basically.
Yes, sorry, folks. I think I've actually been casting for like 6 years now or something.
Wow, that's
almost.
longer than me.
2017 will be my 6th year, so it's definitely been a long time. But yeah, it's like in more isolated part of the world for sure.
I met someone from New Zealand during New Year's, and I thought the accent was Australian. Oh boy, did I quickly learn how much New Zealanders aren't fond of being called Australians.
Yeah, and we're not fond of being called New Zealanders either.
I don't blame you. I mean, I wouldn't want to be confused with somebody who sleeps with sheep.
Oh,
Okay, sorry
no,
if
he
anyone from New
did.
Zealand's watching. Double winner mine drop coming in. Segue away from that comment, but the stalkers are ready for it, and looks like aLive's not going to get much done. Oh, the medevac crashes and burns. Widowmine's not even going to get a single shot off. This is bad for a couple of different reasons, but also coupled with the fact that the Reaper didn't get that deep into the main. Normally, the Widowmine drop, if it doesn't do damage, it scouts. The Reaper, it scouts. But he actually didn't get far enough in to see much of anything. He saw the Twilight Council, and if he's satisfied with that, he's going to feel really bad when he learns there's a really fast Robo coming down.
Yeah, he's not gonna be too pleased with that. But yeah, that was a nice shutdown for Billowy. Liberator coming in. Let's see if it can do any damage on that probe line. Does have a lot of stalkers, and Blinker's about halfway done. I'm not sure if he can even find a position that'll let him do much at the moment, but maybe if he just saves it for later, he can get some tasty probe treats. But for now, Billowy is pretty well covered, and like you said, he's got that tech coming down. May look towards that. Oh, there we go. I was going to say he might look towards getting a third base in a second, but a Reaper does snipe that little probe, unfortunately.
So this is a comment. I know we got like literally a couple thousand people tuning in, but this is directed at one person. Flotch, bro, you've missed out on a lot of us casting Zest lately. Luckily, and this is a great way to segue into a shout out for our YouTube channel. You can catch all the VODs of games you guys miss on BaseTradeTV by heading over to youtube.com/BaseTradeTV. Make sure to subscribe while you're there. But for Flotch specifically, there's a lot of Zest VODs, man. Like, would recommend. Oh, we had that one really great Zest game too. I think was that you and Zombie upcasting? It all blends together now, but that crazy base trade, you remember?
Yeah, I remember the game. I can't remember if it was with you or Zombie Grub.
Alright, well either way, lots of good games up on our YouTube to check out. I gotta say though, Billowy absolutely on top of everything so far this game. Crushed the drop, stopped like the Liberator dead in his tracks, kills the Reaper out in the middle of the map, third base on the way, and Colossus. Ooh, a skinned Colossus at that coming out. I don't think he's too worried about aLive's push.
No, he doesn't look too worried. I mean, he's already positioning it up here on the high ground, so he can get a nice couple of shots off on this armor if he sees it first. But yeah, aLive was just like, oh no, I don't want any of that.
What's really unfortunate is not actually the Colossus part of this. As funny as it is, that should be like the biggest, scariest thing. It's the Guardian Shields. Because these are so many Marines that didn't have stim yet, he couldn't fight that. The Guardian Shield would have just nullified all that damage. So turning away was the right option from aLive. I'm not sure what's going on with this, but scanning is causing like weird lag spikes for me today. I've been noticing this throughout the series, and it just happened again.
Oh.
I'm not sure why scans of all things would do that, but okay, hopefully it's not going to break
just
anything.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't noticed it, so we should be good, all good and hood. As aLive moves out once again to the middle of the map with a bit more bio this time. He's still rallying everything at this point and taking his third behind this. We'll see if he ends up committing to anything, or whether he's just trying to look threatening while he gets his economy up and going. It won't be too long before he adds on a bit more production, then he'll really have the pain train ready to rock and roll, but for now he's just sort of posturing out here. Does clean up the Overseer, which is nice. It's not what it's called, Observer, which is nice. Yeah, Billowy now doing basically the same thing, just trying to move out and see where the Terran army is. Like, neither player, I guess, wants to let him get a really good position out in the middle of the map or control that area too much.
The fact that Billowy is kind of sailing away to a fourth, though, while Live's only just planted down his third, like it doesn't look like skyrocketing, but he's getting really far ahead at this rate. And my fear is that aLive has a pretty nice army for a scrappy fight here, but he won't for like the follow-up macro game where Billowy's going to just be warping in endless amounts of units. Fight goes down the middle of the map, though. Force Field's trying to catch this. Widowmines catch a lot of Marines. Abandoned ship with the medevacs. Forced to fight. This goes a little bit awkwardly, and unfortunately, almost no damage taken for Billowy. A Liberator sets up back at home, and I guess that's some damage, but that army was like unscathed. That's a very nice catch.
Yeah, that was pretty sick. In fact, this whole game, Billowy's lost barely nothing. Like, it's just a couple of probes, maybe an observer or two. So, yeah, he's sitting pretty. And like you said, he's got that forward base. It's kind of all chill over here in Protoss territory. aLive hasn't really threatened him since he tried to send a Liberator across the map. So he's not careful. Billowy's just going to get whatever he wants, and he's going to get the ultimate comp. Already his army's looking pretty darn juicy with the 4th Colossus on the way. Charge about to finish up. +2 armor about to finish as well. And it just looks so much more threatening than the Bio Ball that aLive has.
aLive, by the way, I guess we've been so focused on Billowy, doesn't exactly have a great Viking count for this. Only on 6. He's producing 4 at a time, and give him enough time, he'll have enough, but right now, if those Vikings come in, they're not going to kill the Colossus before the Colossus kill everything on the ground.
Yeah, I think he's been trying to wait to get a better number of those up, but oh no, he's not spread well enough for this at all.
Stalkers pick him off one at a time.
But, oh gosh,
this
not looking good.
This is twice in like the exact same spot. Billowy pounces on aLive. Like aLive, just go through the south of the map, dude. Quit going through the north. It's just not gonna work.
It's just not happening, mate. It's actually splitting off some stalkers here for a moment. Billowy's got to be feeling pretty confident at this point. His army
is another base.
Yeah, why not, man? He's not really under any real threat. He knows that aLive can't engage him right now because he just saw his whole army and he backhanded it pretty easily. So he's just continuing to get more tech. He's throwing in some Archons. He's getting a Warp Prism, second Robo. So he's looking real good at the moment. Just about to be maxed out, whereas aLive is still sitting around 150 supply. And he's mostly got fire. I mean, he's not even producing Vikings at this point.
Well, those folks are asking, what's up with the Colossus? This is the Tal'Darim skin. This, I think, came with Legacy of the Void or whatever. It's super sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I do like that skin.
It matches well with the blackened zealots underneath it. Can't wait till we get Tal'Darim themed armies, but more on that later. We got the army possibly coming in. We got storms finishing up. There's Archons, there's Stalkers. There's more than enough to deal with the Vikings. The Colossus don't even care. They just walk forward. They're like, okay, you know what? If I'm going to die, I'm going to kill as many units before I die as possible. And they're doing just that. Marines, Marauders absolutely eradicated. Supply count almost triple that in the favor of Bill. This is so bad for aLive.
Oh yeah, SCVs have come off the line with the 3rd. Everything getting demolished. And there's a GG.
That is payback for that first game.
Yeah, indeed it is. It shows that he, in a straight-up game, Billowy is looking real good. aLive better be afraid. He might want to end it a little earlier in the next map.
Quick reminders, by the way, the winner of this does go in a fight against Biel. Super advanced on the top side of the bracket, and winner of Bunny and Innovation will play him. We're going to go to game number 3, though, so a small commercial break while they tell us what map they want for this final game. We'll see you guys soon. All right, folks, we're back. Sorry for that little bit of a hang time there, but we are getting into game number 3. Things are tied up 1-1, and I'm really glad that Billowy's name hasn't moved on the overlay because I haven't had to fiddle with it. But yeah, this is going to lead into the semifinals. We got 2 best-of-3s and 1 best-of-5 remaining here for the Olimoleague. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Big shout-outs to Olimoleague for helping make all this possible. She is, of course, the Grand Meister of this tournament. But spawning here on the top spawn location, we do have the Blue Terran. It is alive. It's alive!
And in the south position, it's the red Protoss Billowy.
So I really want to just geek out for a second about a couple of things that went on in that game that I think Billowy did really, really well. The first was that initial push out of aLive. It came with tanks, Marauders, and Marines with no stim. I think a lot of Protoss players would die if they got caught off guard by that. But by having 3 sentries visible on the front lines, the threat of force fields, the threat of Guardian Shield, like he was so ready to push that back, and without even taking a fight, he won that engagement. following that up later with those 2 catching, like sniping aLive on the right sides of the map. There was really good force fields in that game. You don't usually see force fields be that big of an influence against Terran unless it's like pushing into their base. So it was really cool to see Billowy use those so well in the middle of the map. And it's these sort of moves that have me go, like, yeah, that's what I was talking about game 1. Billowy's such a good player when he's playing his best, but then you'll see him like completely flop around and do poorly otherwise, like game number 1 looked like. So it's so tough for me to cast Billowy. I would never ever bet Partoufs ever in a game with Billowy because I honestly, he's too much of a wild card. I don't know how that would play out.
Yeah, it's hard to pick what days he's on and what days he's off. That's for sure. But I do have to commend him, like, especially in his positioning in the last game, like the way he postured on that like first high ground area is kind of like having a fence with a beware of dog sign on it. Like aLive just couldn't get close to that because every time he did, we saw him lose a chunk of his army, or he couldn't find the right position to engage no matter how many times he tried. So there's not so many positions for that on this map. Maybe it'll go a little better for aLive.
I like the idea, like the beware of dog, and I'm just thinking of like beware of like beyond, things like that. Like we need to make shirts with those posters of those signs or whatever. So by the way, fun fact, I know it's summertime in Australia right now, kind of warm over there. It is freezing cold over here. It's actually -5 Celsius in my room because, for those who don't know, I've spent my majority of my life living in basically a garage. And that hot chocolate I made earlier before stream is actually mostly frozen solid now.
How are you alive?
I have a heater underneath this blanket that I'm sitting in front of the computer with. If I didn't have that, I would literally probably have frostbite trying to cast StarCraft.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous. That's dedication. I'd just be like, sorry, I can't cast.
Hey,
I'm
it's
dying.
so like here's the thing though, it's nice and toasty, but if I have to go stand up, I'm gonna be freezing cold. I'm also wearing a really, really big jacket today, but we gotta talk about this coming out of aLive, and less about my cold whinings. This is not gonna be for battlecruisers as much as I wish it was. But this is a map where Liberator range has caused Protoss players to GG out of anger and frustration. There was not a Stargate opener this game, and that's all you really gamble on. If you rush this out and your opponent doesn't go for a Stargate to open with, it's going to be bad times for the Protoss to deal with.
Yeah, this is like the one map that this still happens to. You don't see this very often otherwise. And I do wonder if Billowy is somewhat aware that he might be facing this even before he gets the Observer Scout in. Because I think it's Phil.
Oh, this is such a big pickoff. That was a phenomenal pickoff out of aLive.
Wow. Yeah, that really is going to make it difficult for Billowy to foresee what's coming. Yeah, well, he's grabbing his Twilight Council and a couple of gateways. Twilight Council might help him blink towards something eventually, but I don't know, man. I don't know what he's going to be able to do about these pesky Liberators.
Well, if his income is good enough, and it has been pretty solid, like it's only one base that Liberator is going to be able to deny, throw down that Stargate, and maybe make up for lost time. Because aLive doesn't exactly have a 1-2 punch to go with this. It's a handful of Marines, it's a Hellion. There's not really a lot to say, like, okay, it's game over because you were out of position for a second with that Liberator. But man, he is going to get away with the Liberator. Like this is going to be like watching a criminal execute a bank heist flawlessly. But in reverse. So basically, no, because reverse would be depositing money in the bank like a normal person, I guess.
Yeah, I'm like, he's stealing probes, I guess, in a way. So it's still...
I meant to say, like, he was going to take the money, but he wasn't taking it away. He's just going to shut it down. Either way, my terrible analogy aside, this is really not going to be good. I mean, the first Liberator takes a long time to get around the map, so maybe time being bought here. There's a lot more Stalkers than there would be. There's not just the 3. Blink might be finished up. Like, aLive's taking a long time to get here, but when he gets here, he is going to be in such a prime position from so far away. So I'm not sure how this is going to line up. But this is something that's going to be super nasty. There's no pylons behind the mineral lines. There's no overcharge ready to go either.
I was just looking at that. My goodness. Yeah, it's going to be sticky to deal with. He may just have to pull probes off the line and just mine somewhere else for the time being because he can't deal with it. He can't kill it. And
actually,
he's
the
going to have to
positioning. I love this. Look, that he continues to mine. He knows that he can get away with this by just shutting down a couple of probes instead of all the probes.
Yeah, it gets a little stickier when a second one is involved. He is still losing mining, but like you said, he's handling it quite well. He knows he can't get in there for the moment. So with these extra pylons coming up, that might be his chance to get an overcharge in and clean this up. But until then...
Until then, we need new maps with better design is what we need. Because this sort of thing happens on, what's that one map? Habitation Station 2. There's like this one little spot above the third that you just can't deal with. Stargate's finishing up, though, and looks like we will not have this game end, but whether it's a Void Ray or whether it's a Phoenix for the Essence of Time, either way, this is still screwed up income. I'm so scared to look at that graph, but there we go. Huge spike advantage in favor of aLive. That's disgusting.
Yep. Well, at least he's got his external thermal lance finishing up, so maybe he can make a push on the third once it's cleaned up. But my goodness, I mean, aLive is still here with a couple of Liberators now denying all mining on that third base. I mean, if you look at the income graph, it shows exactly what's going on there. Yeah. A Phoenix finally comes in and does flush out that Liberator at the third base. We can get back to mining. And things are starting to normalize a little bit here for Billowy. He's still got one more Liberator to clean up, but once he does that, he'll be looking a lot better. That said, though, aLive does have a force of units.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't push with this while this was going on. I feel like the Liberator, on top of everything else, kept the army out of position. That could have dropped in the natural with only pylons to defend a long time ago. Regardless, though, this did get aLive ahead. It got him ahead by quite a bit at that. As the Phoenixes hunt down these Liberators, aLive did a lot of the damage directly and indirectly to the income. But then on top of that, forced out a Stargate, wasted supply, and a couple of Phoenix. These are not units that Billowy wanted to make. He wanted to just make a lot of Colossus and a lot of Zealots and eventually get Archons, all like what we saw in that the second game. Yeah.
It's not ideal, that's for sure. He's gonna go ahead and take a fourth. His work count is almost where you sort of expect it to be usually. And I think he's just gonna make do with the Stargate now. He's gonna add in some Void Rays. He's moving towards the rest of his upgrades, which are a lot later than those of aLive, so that sucks a little bit for the time when they first engage each other head on. But the longer that he goes, just recovering his economy and not having to engage aLive, the better he's going to be looking. It's a shame that he doesn't really have a whole lot of options for harassing aLive as well. You just got to kind of let him go at this point.
By the way, we have some people joining us a little bit later on the stream talking about results, and yeah, if you haven't seen them, type exclamation mark brackets. I'd say the bottom half of this bracket was so dramatic with, you know, Björn knocking out Dark and then losing to Biol afterwards. Top side of the bracket's been a little bit more predictable, I think, but this has been a fantastic first Olimoleague of 2017. And just the signups alone, so good, so good. I'm actually, I'm going to say this, and I know that this will not be the popular thing to say, but personally speaking, I'm very glad Pro League ended up going away the way it did, because it has greatly flooded the Korean events with more high caliber players than we've ever seen before.
Yeah, certainly.
And on top of that, all the streaming that's been going on, because now they're allowed to. Yeah. They don't have their team saying, no, you can't. Like, oh, it's just...
That's it. It's pretty awesome to see. So at least there's a silver lining to that one. But yeah, it looks like aLive is just about ready to actually put on some pressure with an army. And Billowy, he's got 4 Colossi in his army. The gateway count, like the gateway units, there's not that many of them just yet, and with all these Liberators coming in, it's going to be really hard to engage this.
I actually don't even know if it's possible. If he comes in the right angle, I mean, there's going to be Ghosts ready for EMPs. Okay, maybe he blinks underneath a couple of the Liberators, but he sets up on the other side. There's some Marauders ready to go. This is actually a huge zone of control that he just can't deal with. He has to give up the base. The army's now out of position, and he might get zoned out of his own base. If this ends up going towards that third base, a small amount of Marines go down while the main part of the army stays in the center of the map. And again, 3 Ghosts worth of EMPs could blanket this entire army.
That was just beautifully done by aLive, positioning that army so perfectly, and Billowy knows he can't engage that, has to let his 4th base go, ends up having to pull probes off the line again at his 3rd, and there's nothing he can really do about it. Like, what does he have to kind of get any payback for that? He is getting closer to max out, still 20 supply down, but he's got this big army, and I'm not sure if he can actually attack into aLive or anything. Like, he hasn't been able to get anything going to sort of recover his losses in this game.
Right, but I think for me, Billowy has been doing a great job of keeping us calm, staying collected. He hasn't freaked out and run Colossus into Liberators or done anything stupid like try and go for these drops or excuse me, blink attacks that wouldn't work out for him. He's not in a great spot. Like, aLive, in my opinion, should win this game in every way. Despite his army supply being lower, the type of the supply is what matters the most, and with these Liberators and Ghosts just policing the game, it should be better. But if Billowy has enough time and he gets Storms out, that could be a big game changer. I mean, right now he's, I think, scared of the EMP, sure, but I think Storms are a lot scarier for this clumped up air army.
Yeah, that's a good point. And he's getting Warp Prism too. Obviously, you can use that with the main army for reinforcements, but it would be great to even get some harass going. That said, though, aLive has kind of thought of that already. He's got
there's the EMPs.
EMP, oh, so good too. That gets most of the army. Okay.
So it's going to get a little base tradey. Ace 1, Ace 2, chat if you got it, guys, because aLive's going to rely on the Planetary Fortress and the Liberators while he sends all of his bio across the map. And, oh god, believe me, I think bio wins the race when it comes to killing buildings. But those Liberators, where do they go to set up? They're going to set up in the natural? So he is planning for the base trade. He wants to just hold up on the ramp and say, yeah, Billowy, you're never coming up this ramp. Billowy will never come up this ramp. Sure, the third base is a sacrifice. Fourth base still a planetary. Back at home, though, Billowy's got no way to stop this. He doesn't have the equivalent of Liberators to set up on top of this ramp. There's no massive amounts of cannons coming down. He's already pulling probes away from this, knowing that he has to evacuate at some point. This, I think, goes so much better for aLive, without a doubt. He's on top of production. He's on top of the pylons. He kills the upgrades.
Absolutely, he's looking so good, and usually this would be the riskier move, but aLive knows he has a huge advantage here. Stim Bio just crushes through everything, and he also had the advantage of knowing that he was going to go for this too, so there's no way that Billowy can catch up. He's going to try and take a gold base, but let's be real here. He's lost all his Nexi except this last one, which is about to go down, and he's lost all his production. Like, he's not going to have anything left, and he's going to have to basically 1v1 aLive with his army.
So this is a little bit of a problem for Protoss, though. There is no great answer to deal with Liberators. But having been forced into the Stargate so early, I'm surprised he didn't continue down that tech path. If Billowy has the same army, but let's say like 3 Tempests in it, I think that actually this situation never gets forced the way it did. But now this is where we're at, and aLive has so much production and SCVs and supply and just everything going for him. Whereas all Billowy can do is try and desperately prevent a base trade from actually ending the game.
Exactly. Billowy's at the point where he can't even rebuild. Like, sure, he has money, but he has no pylons. He has no probes, nothing. He can't rebuild. So this is what he's got to win the game with. And it's not looking good. I mean, aLive is basically done in these bases. There's a couple of pylons he could clean up. But that's, that's about it. It's really just waiting for Billowy to realize that all hope is gone here.
Yeah, I mean, in the worst of worst case scenarios, I think it's like one Phoenix alive. Maybe aLive floats something, but kills the Phoenix, and that's definitely a draw, if nothing else. But with so many turrets and Liberators and Ghosts, there's just no way Billowy breaks this, and there's just no way he ever takes it to that extreme. Medevacs gets sniped. That kind of sucks, but aLive's taking his third back. He's building a fourth. Again, this is aLive's game in my mind. There's no doubt about it. On top of this too, I forgot Billowy's gonna be revealed soon.
Yeah, and he's still losing structures. He's lost the gas. Actually, it's just those 2 pylons at the gold. Yeah,
he's already been revealed. So now knowing fully what's up, of course, Billowy, check his vision. There's not a lot he can really do. I think he knows it too. So he's just gonna go for like one big last hurrah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no harm in trying, because if he loses here, he does bow out altogether. But, yeah, I guess it's hard to know when it's time to tap out unless you physically see what's going on. I think he's starting to get an idea now. He's like, oh man, you're still mining. You still got those Liberators. Sure, I picked up a couple of medevacs of units, and that's great, but you still got a lot more left than me.
Well, so another part of this too, the Olimoleague pays out prize money to the top 4 players. Winner of this is in the top 4. It's really hard to lose that, right? So he's gonna go for that last fight, try everything he can, but there's just no way in hell this works. There's too many Liberators. They annihilate the Stalkers. The Ghosts are even taking a decent fight. Ghosts are terrible versus Colossus and Stalkers, but they're pushing it back.
Oh my goodness. That number of liberators is just so gross. And aLive on the other side of the map. He's going for the pounds. Doesn't even matter. aLive, it takes it with the 2-1.
Nicely done. That will send him to fight against Billowy in the semifinals down here. Now, I believe, from what I understand, there was actually a regame of Innovation and Bunny at some point. I'm unsure. I'm trying to figure out if that's over or if they're still playing. I also don't know which semifinal we'll be doing first, but we will find out soon. So, guys, actually, Innovation and Bunny are 1-1. We're going to try and join in for Game 3. So, small commercial break. We'll see you guys soon.